Welcome, Thrones fans, theorists, and people getting ready to cancel their HBO subscriptions this June. As we approach what will hopefully be one epic conclusion to Game of Thrones, I'd like to examine the biggest character we know almost nothing about, the Night King. Since his first appearance giving this baby a makeover, the Night King has been alluded to be the villain to end all villains within the series. And when your competition is Joffrey Baratheon and Ramsay Bolton, that's saying something. However, in George R.R. Martin's world of moral gray, the villain is simply the hero of the other side. Does anyone really believe the Night King will be beyond this principle? I'm Hudsimus Prime, and today I'm here to lay down my theory and answer the question on every Thrones fan's mind. What the hell is your deal, man? Before we dive right in, this is your obligatory spoiler warning for all things Thrones. Honestly, if you have not seen Game of Thrones, you read the title, saw the thumbnail, and still clicked on the video, then may God have mercy on your soul. Alright, here we go. After hours of research and not being able to unsee this image on the cave wall, I've come to the conclusion, as some of you have, that the Night King is just like any other king. He serves as the leader of his people until his time is past, at which point their successor takes over. It's here that I believe I've found the Night King's motivation. He wants his time as the Night King to end. The Night King wants to die. The role of Night King is one of unfortunate servitude. Holders of the title sacrifice their life to contain and control a murderous curse brought to Westeros ages ago. A prisoner of duty, a Night King is required at all times to keep the army of the dead in check and the people of Westeros safe. Now I'm going to tell you why. The early days of Westeros were much like they are now, drenched in war. As the first men made their way to the continent, their appearance displaces the continent's current residents, the Children of the Forest. Their differences lead to warfare, where the children had a grave disadvantage, being vastly outnumbered. As we see early in Season 6, the Children of the Forest created the first White Walker as a weapon against the first men.
We needed to defend ourselves.
From whom?
From men.
Their lands invaded and pushed to the brink of extinction, the children beseeched the old gods for the means to strike back at mankind. The gods, always eager for a bloodbath, obliged their request. After shoving a shard of dragonglass into this poor bastard's chest, they created the first Night King. Through their Night King's necromancy, the children turn man's numbers against them and are able to achieve a peace with men, lasting 4,000 years. Since I'm guessing the Night King is difficult to kill, the children sent him north with his zombies to rot and maintain the peace. But the old gods didn't give them the Night King to achieve peace. As always, the gods wanted blood. We know the gods of A Song of Ice and Fire require blood payment for even the simplest magics to be performed. Why would the children's magic be any different? Whatever sacrifice they paid, the children were never able to recover from this, and over time, their numbers dwindled even further, weakening whatever spells bound the Night King to the north. With no magical chains and 4,000 years of bloodthirsty old gods twisting a former human mind, the Night King goes rogue. Manipulated by the gods he receives his power from, the Night King begins replicating his abilities in babies sacrificed to the old gods by superstitious Northmen. Extensions of his necromancy power, the White Walkers each maintain control of a portion of the Night King's army. The more walkers the Night King can create, the larger his army of zombies becomes. The more blood is shed, the happier the old gods are. Under this threat, the much-fabled Long Night begins. After a generation of bloodshed, the last hero rises to end the destruction. Rumored to be a Stark,
with humanity facing extinction, a Stark sought out the Children of the Forest.
The last hero sacrifices everything to find what remains of the Children of the Forest. He learns that even if you could kill the Night King, he now controls hundreds of thousands of undead monsters terrorizing the countryside. There would be no way to kill all those White Walkers or zombies through brute force after 20 years of desolation and death have built their army up. They would have to be controlled. With the children's help, the last hero undergoes the same process that created the Night King in the first place. With his new icy powers, he confronts the army of the dead. Having the same necromancing abilities as the original Night King, he negates the undead army and faces off one-on-one with the OG NK. The fight, however, does not last long. The last hero shatters the old Night King in order to gain singular control of the undead army, becoming the new Night King. Thus, we see the first time the title of Night King transfers from one poor soul onto another. However, it would not be the last. As the last hero prepares to take his army of the undead north, as did his predecessor before him, he doesn't have the children's magic to bind him in place anymore. Extra precautions will have to be taken. Here, a grisly and now forgotten tradition is begun. The Night King will take the army of zombies north once more. There, he will continue to keep their restless spirits in the north as long as his human will can stand to remain there. Before succumbing to the same madness that clutched the original king, the Night King returns to the realms of men, at which point, someone must either volunteer or be elected to become the new Night King.
I volunteer! I volunteer!
The process is repeated, the Night King returns north to keep the dead at bay, and the old king is allowed to die. After many years, his watch will finally be over. Since Night Kings can live for quite some time, it's possible many years could pass between the Night King power transitions. Since no man would live to see a Night King leave and then return, an organization is established to await the return of the Night King. This group becomes the Night's Watch, passing their duty down from generation to generation, ensuring that when the Night King does return, his power is transferred successfully. As one last precaution, the Night King and Bran the Builder erect a 700-foot ice wall, placing spells preventing the dead's passage as long as the wall stands. Finally, the last hero heads north alone as a grateful world continues on without him, his watch having just begun. By now you're probably asking yourself, with a plan that solid, how do we wind up with this angry old fuck flying a zombie dragon into town? Well guys, the simplest answer to that is people change. Who's to say how many years would pass between the changing of Night Kings? Over time, ritualistic and blood sacrifice become taboo and are performed less and less, until eventually not at all.
This is blood magic. It is forbidden.
Add to that, exactly how many people do you think would be lining up to be the Night King? Can it be trusted anyone would be selfless enough to commit themselves to a life of frigid imprisonment? While I have good circumstantial evidence, an entire noble family line may be elbow deep in this whole scheme to placate the icy vengeance set upon us by the children. You guys will have to wait till my next video for that story. Instead, I encourage you to place yourself in the shoes of our most recent Night King. What if you did your duty, took up the role of Night King, and when it came time for your watch to end, there was no one there to welcome you? What if human sacrifice and blood ritual became taboo over the passing centuries? What if the ones charged with remembering your story, your sacrifice, were all wiped out and replaced, only half their duty remembered? What if you were left to die on the wrong side of the wall after sacrificing your entire life for the greater good? Well, I'd bet you'd be pretty pissed off. I bet you might even look something like this guy. To make matters worse, I bet this guy is a Stark too. Whether by family tradition or luck of the draw, this Stark ended up getting the shit end of the duty stick. He's been the Night King for way longer than he signed on for, and all he wants to do is return to the halls of his forefathers to die. The Night King is raising an army solely to force his way into the crypts of Winterfell so he can die there among his honored family. I believe this is exactly why we're getting the Battle of Winterfell in the middle of the season. This would wrap up the majority of the Night King's story early enough to have the story return focus to the game for the throne. We still have Cersei, the Golden Company, and elephants to deal with down south. If these episode time estimates are correct, the writers are pumping a lot more time into the second half of this season. I expect the Night King to achieve victory by episode 3's completion, leaving behind only a dragonglass shard and a confused group of our surviving heroes. With his passing and no new Night King, the oldest whites fall to pieces while the remainder scatter throughout Westeros, as walkers and whites run wild across the countryside, forming the conditions to create the second long night. And the battle for the Iron Throne heating up, the man who was Night King will simply not care. His watch has finally ended. And that's just one part of my theory, guys. Tune in next week as I go further into the back history of the Starks and show you why the North remembers. Thank you guys so much for watching. I'm so grateful to have you guys watch my crackpot theories, and now I want to know, what do you guys think? Am I onto something, or have I finally gone insane from binge watching Game of Thrones repeats 12 hours a day for 18 months? Let me know in the comments below. Please share, like, and subscribe for more theory videos on Game of Thrones and beyond. And check out my gaming how-tos and streams if you're into that sort of thing. Thank you guys again for watching, and until next time, good luck in your adventures, and Godspeed.